Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 193, Expensin on the Edge, recorded on Friday, April 8th, 2022 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, we will. No April Fools this Friday. Just straight into announcements and events here. And we've got really a couple little things coming up. Zoho is going to have a focus group webinar on sales forecasting in the CRM. That's coming up on April 19th from 8:30 to 9:30. And then when you're done with that, refresh your coffee and then come on over and join us for our Zoho Projects Full Product Tutorial 2022. We're going to go over everything that you need to know in Zoho projects. And then rounding out April, Zoho's also got a digital signing business documents with Zoho Sign extension for Zoho CRM. And that's the events that we've got coming up. And as always, if you want to know what's going on in Zoho, just head over to zenatta.com/events and you can check out everything we've got going on over there. And with that, let's get right on into the news. We got news. Expensin on the Edge. I just don't know that song, Tyler. Evidently, that's an Aerosmith song. I'm supposed to know. All right. Zoho Contracts has some API documentation.
Wonderful. Yeah, I had a schedule here compared to WorkDrive. I think it took them about a year and a half to get that web page stood up there. Contracts, I think, came out a couple months back. So, of course, you're going to want an API for this. The ability to automate contract generation from various other Zoho apps or apps outside the Zoho ecosystem is a need to have. So good on you, Zoho, for building out the page and getting that out there for developers to sink their teeth in.
Yeah, contracts is pretty cool. I like it a lot. If they would, it's strictly contracts, though it's text-based stuff, and they got so many
Yeah.
templates in there. I mean, if you really just wanted to get some it's a great place to start. Probably should have a lawyer review some of this stuff, but I looked at the whole contracts app, and it's so cool. If they would allow you to put images in and do page formatting in there, it kind of then becomes a whole proposal thing, very similar to like a Proposify or one of those kind of things. But right now it's
Building
straight up
blocks,
contracts.
right? You add a bunch of blocks and kind of add them as needed. I think, yeah, the big thing
Yeah,
right now is just that it's really designed current state for making contracts, not proposals, right? So not a lot of pretty design work, embedded images, and things like that. Is mostly for your true documentation, your contract work.
yeah, but it's cool. You choose contract A, and then you can say, I want these sections in it, right? And it pulls them on over. So someone could kind of use that fairly cool. And I would imagine with this API, maybe you're able to do some other interesting stuff there as far as auto creation and stuff like that. So pretty cool. And good on the team, like you said, for getting it out in a very short period of time. So now moving on with the news. Reports and dashboards are now together in Zoho Desk, and they're called analytics, just making you thrilled.
So, the little background pretty much inside a desk, you used to have two tabs at the top, one for reports. Those are going to be like your tables, right? Your pivots and your summary tables. And then you had a separate one for dashboards, which is kind of like your charts and KPIs. They basically combine those into one kind of top module called analytics with two sections inside of it for dashboards and reports. I don't think it's a bad idea to kind of roll these together into one section. You're going to be looking at both of them kind of interchangeably when you want to get a top down about what's going on inside a desk. We at Zenatta, because we're always on Zoho One, and Zoho One has access to a separate application called Zoho Analytics. It always hurts our brains a little bit when we add another analytics into another app that's separate from kind of Zoho Analytics as a whole. But for kind of like solo users of Desk or maybe people that don't have the full Zoho One suite, I do think it's a better name. Kind of makes more sense, but it just gets tricky. There's so many different apps that have the word analytics in them now. And then you also have the whole app for analytics that it just gets a little complicated
Yeah,
to explain.
I'd really prefer, well, in some instances of CRM, reports are called analytics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right
Oh,
on that? I think
dashboards are called analytics.
dashboards are called analytics, and they probably will. If they're doing this, they're probably going to do the other. I don't mind it. I think you're right. I actually think they should change the name of analytics to something like Zoho BI.
Yeah.
You know, because if it was called Zoho BI, then we're using because otherwise, you're right. We've got that confusion. But good on the desk team. Nice little cleanup of the interface there. Yeah, right. And moving on, we now have a bunch of the financial updates that come in. It's kind of strange that books isn't part of this because normally books is first and then we get all the others. But new in Zoho inventory, kind of a big one. I think they announced this a week or two ago. You've got a client portal inside of Zoho inventory. So
Which is
that's
interesting because you already had one inside of Zoho Books, and really anything that's in inventory is also in Books. So I guess this would be if you only had Zoho inventory, and you
mhm.
wanted to roll out a portal that way, you can essentially get that same portal that you have in Zoho Books, but just hosted on the inventory side of house.
Yep.
And kind of building
And
on the portal, yeah, building on the portal here. They've also now integrated with Sales IQ inside of
yep.
Zoho Inventory. You might read that and go, "What do you even mean by that? Like, why would you integrate these two apps?" Essentially, what it is, if you wanted to offer chat within your portal for Zoho Inventory, then you can now have the little widget there. On first read, I was really confused by that, but now kind of getting that it's in the portal, I think it does make a lot of sense. And then lastly but not least, they have added the expense module into Zoho Inventory. Again, if you're in Zoho Books, you already had this, but if you are exclusively in inventory, you can now track some of those expenses there natively.
Yep. And then employee electronic protected health information, EPHI. This keeps you in compliance with HIPAA and other things. Now in Zoho inventory, you can have fields that you can turn on. The data will be encrypted and it will save that for you. So you'll be in compliance. Good stuff there.
Very nice.
And then kind of moving through more financial news, Zoho Expense got some product updates. Microsoft Edge, consequently Expensin on the Edge, Tyler, the title of our show. Greg, good one there. You now have the widget for the Microsoft Edge browser. I think that's because Edge is now Chrome, isn't it? Chrome based?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's
Edge
now
is on
Chrome
Chromium.
based. They phased
I'd
out
say not.
IE and moved to a Chromium based browser. I mean, that's nice. This is a cool extension. One of the use cases they show here is, maybe you get emailed a receipt or an invoice and you're able to just basically grab it and submit it to expense through this plugin. So definitely nice to have. Time saver in terms of just getting those all rolled up and submitted.
Yep. And you can now delegate permissions for new roles in Expense. And this is really important that you
Yeah,
can do
so
this because this is one of the big things. When people say, "How is Zoho Expense?" It's the same answer I give when I'm talking about Zoho Sign. Great application, does everything. Man, the roles and permissions are a little tough. The grouping's a little tough.
mhm.
It's not where it needs to be necessarily. But if you don't care about that, then you're in good shape. So this is nice. Be
Yeah, and
able
it
to
looks
kind
pretty
of
much like this
segment
is
out that a
allowing you
little
to
bit.
say that people within a certain role can delegate their approvals to somebody else. So managers and things like that are
Right.
able to take themselves out of the process if they feel it's appropriate.
Right. And who can submit records and who can do that. Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's where we talk about Zoho Sign. It's, you basically can see your stuff or nothing. I mean, you don't have that
Yeah,
ability to set up that. It's similar kind of thing where you don't have the ability to say, hey, these people can also see my stuff. So, and
yep.
delegate those things out. Um, and now you can do some custom status, update custom statuses in bulk for advances. So you can basically do bulk updates now, new filters and reports, and that's kind of it. But nice, good job, expense team. Keep it rolling. Let's take out Concur. It's happening. All right, moving on, Tyler. It's an exciting news week, dude. Moving
So
on, we've
here,
got
kind of
Zoho
another
Invoice,
one of these.
and as always happens
Go
in
ahead.
here, if one thing is updated somewhere else in the expense, you'll see it appear here. So when we do get the books one next week, I guarantee you can protect your customer data with the EPHI, and you can now do that in Zoho Invoice. What else have we got here? You can customize the tax summary report, global, India, Canada, and Australia editions. So that's interesting. So if it's global, that doesn't include like the US then?
I don't think so,
Is
no.
there a global edition, Tyler, that I'm unaware of?
Yeah, I think there's a separate edition that is not specific to any one country,
And it
but
just
generally, yeah, kind of like the generic.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever come across that before because I guess I wonder what countries would fall into that global edition, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows? All right, so you've got that, and you can now clone your itemized expenses. That's nice. You don't have to retype them. So there you go. Good stuff there. And they've got a fresh design for estimate details and payment details. So look at that. It's all clean. What do you got? Nothing?
Oh,
It's
not
fresh,
much. I think,
Tyler.
yeah, that just about does it on these ones.
It's
Nothing
fresh.
crazy there from the book side of house, but I guess we'll see if anything sneaks in on the actual books update that I'm assuming will come out the minute that we're done recording the show today.
All right, and then the biggest update on Begin mobile app, you can now sort and group. So you can sort your contacts and group your
Yeah.
contacts. Got
So
some quick
this
sorting
falls into the
going on.
category that I think Greg, our one of our kind of senior developers, calls the "man, I wish that was already there" or "thought that was already there" category. You would think that this would roll out on launch day with the product, but yeah, now you do have the ability to sort inside of the Bigin mobile app. So good on you,
Oh,
Bigin team, for
yeah,
adding that in
and
here.
and similarly to, I thought that was a thing. You've got some new fields that are supported in the Zoho Sprints mobile apps. Um, Percentages, currencies, lookup, and multi-user pick list fields uh, in add item edit. So again, just some small changes to the mobile application. But if you're a user of that, you've probably said, gosh, where have these fields been? Especially, I'd especially say percentage and currency. But now
Yep.
you got it. So there you go. And wrapping up our news, we have what's new in Zoho Backstage. Just a quick little update that they've done here, Tyler. Um, Event participants can control their profile under the privacy preferences, in the
Nice.
virtual space. So you can control what people can see there, those kind of things, who can contact you, can't. They can now start a one-on-one chat with others during a session. Again, this is under the privacy preference area. Sessions in a virtual space now include chat panels for a panelist. Very good there as well. A secondary media option can now be added to the hero section of the microsite. That's kind of nice. If you
Hero
don't
being
know,
kind of like your top banner, right? When you first
your
load into the site, right? They're giving you some more options there for
Yep, yep.
customizing
And
that.
Zoho Backstage is their Eventbrite. It does everything. It manages your panelists. It manages the websites for the event. It does the agenda. It handles all of the registrations. It can be free or paid. So they're just, these are just small little tweaks. And you can now use the media right and media left options in the primary media on the microsite and set the vertical alignment for these elements in the hero section of the microsite. So basically, they've just cleaned up your page, your web page that you're building on the microsite, and you kind of just
Yep.
clean that up a
That's
bit.
more customization options.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Tyler, I'm done talking for a little while. What do we got with the implementation of the week?
So yeah, this is kind of a very targeted implementation here this week that just kind of solves something that can be a thorn in the side for inventory users. This one's built by Bruno. He's does a lot of work with inventory inside of analytics. In essence, what the request was here is that inside of Zoho Inventory, you can set a reorder point for an item. And then you could say that when a specific item reaches the reorder point, meaning its stock is now low enough that you want to purchase more, you can have it send an email because based on that one product to one email address. But the challenge is you could have 5, 6, 7 items hit their reorder point within a given day or within a given week. And really, the only way it's going to surface those is just by sending individual emails for each. You can also go in and look at some of their stock reports around like your stock values, maybe compare those to your reorders and get a general idea. But there isn't really one place where you can go and say, show me all the items where stock is below the reorder point. So that is, in essence, exactly what we solve for here. So over inside of Zoho Analytics, we can pull in all of the inventory data. The one thing that's interesting with analytics is that you oftentimes have to build a bunch of SQL to basically recalculate right, the accounting and physical stock on hands based on all of your historical transaction data. So it could be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but in this case, basically, we pulled a query that would calculate the stock on hand for all the various items. That query also includes the reorder point, and then we built some logic into the table to basically say if that current stock on hand is below the reorder point, define it as a reorderable item. And then we built a summary table inside of analytics that looks at all items that are currently reorderable. That report can be viewed at any point in time, but it's also scheduled to be delivered on I think it's a daily basis to the purchasing team. It can go out to more than one person at the same time, unlike kind of within Zoho inventory. And they'll get one email that contains all products that need to be reordered. So it's just kind of to solve this one little pain point that a lot of people have with inventory, where it's not always super clear if you're going to make a PO, what are all the products that you can reorder at this time. It also makes a big difference because if you had 5 or 6 products from one particular vendor that you were ready to order, you would surely want to put all those on one PO, right? To hopefully save money on inbound shipping or get better bulk discounts on a larger order. So there's some real business impact to kind of optimizing your purchasing cycle. And something like this kind of solves that one little thorn that a lot of people do have with Zoho inventory.
Yeah, so not a particularly mind-blowing type of implementation where we go, "Wow, how do we do
But
that?"
just
But
very, very useful.
super useful.
Yeah.
Super, super useful. Yeah, it's really good. And that's also one of those things like, man, that should just be a button. That should just be a report. You know what I mean? Write an inventory. You should just be able to click that, choose the items you want to reorder, and kind of just do that. So, but good stuff. Good stuff. And
Absolutely.
with that, let's get into our code share of the week. So over on Club Zenatta, you can reach that by going to club.zenatta.com. That's where we have all of our forums where you can have general discussions. You can ask us a question. And we also have the code share forum. And every week, Greg goes in and does a little write up and puts in some deluge code to teach people how to do, simple little tasks inside Zoho. And Tyler, this one is relating a task, meeting, or call to a CRM record using Deluge. Now, what would be the use case for this? Because normally I think they'd automatically be related. How would
Well, yeah,
how are we using this?
it's pretty much just that like when you're running a normal workflow, you surely can just use a like task creation action. But oftentimes maybe you have a workflow that triggers and then based on some additional external criteria or kind of, craziness, you might be generating one of two different tasks. Um, and oftentimes you'd want to build a lot of that logic within a function. This walkthrough kind of highlights one little area of task creation that a lot of people get tripped up on. So you basically will link a task to a who and to a what. So a who would be like a lead or a contact, whereas a what would be like an account or a deal or a custom module. So basically, this little write up gives you the key fields that you need in order to make that connection. I think the reason that they picked this one is because of this sneaky little parameter called $se_module that you just are never going to see anywhere unless you look directly at the API guide or you're writing code and you happen to see it. That's basically where you tell it what the what is. Is it an account? Is it a deal? Is it a custom module? And then from there, you're pretty much just going to need to map, the ID of that record. So your deal ID, your account ID, and then assign any of the rest of the parameters from the task.
All right, good stuff. And as always, head over to Club Zenatta. Got the engagement's really been picking up. I want to thank everybody who's joined over there, and love helping you out, answering your questions. And with that, Tyler, let's get into our read of the week. Going over to Diginomica for this one. We haven't been over there in a while. They follow Zoho, and they do some really interesting things over here. This is an article by Phil Wainwright. Came out on March 3rd, so it was a month ago, but this was low code for coders, the new Zoho Creator Platform, and the rise of co-coding. So, Tyler, that what he's talking about here is that you can have someone go into Creator and set up kind of the basics, but then they're going to get like a little hung up and they're going to need to bring in someone who maybe can write the Deluge script and do some other stuff. So it's a world of co-coding. And they've got a lot of examples around this for, Emeritus Logistics, and some other companies in here. And I'm just, you know, there's so much you can do in Creator. And I kind of wanted to bring this out because this is, a lot of people look at Diginomica, they've got interesting stuff. Do you think that this is a thing, that there'll be a co-coding? I mean, do we see that where someone just kind of builds out the Creator app and says, gosh, I needed to do this, and then they come to us for just to finish it out?
Yeah, it definitely does happen that way. I think that with a lot of the infrastructure being taken off of the like developer, right? You're not having to host a server, you're not having to build the entire UI, right, of a creator app. You're really just kind of manipulating the data and the workflow within the various forms that were created. So I see this happening a lot. I mean, there's a huge value to having someone who has the specific business acumen and understanding of the process and kind of do a meeting of the minds with someone who can write all the code and kind of do some of those back end automations to get things done. Um, you know, Oftentimes Josh, our VP of Ops and kind of resident, creator god says, when you call it a no code platform or a low code, it's like, oh, it's kind of a lot of code. It is kind of a lot of code to get creator up and running and to really take advantage of what's there. But yeah, I mean, we see these a lot. I think that a lot of our engagements with clients kind of look like this, where like they kind of are coming in with their understanding of their business. Some of them will absolutely open up Creator and build some forms and start kind of playing around in there and then bring it to us and say, what do you think about this? Like, here's my process in a flow chart. Here's what I
Right.
did in this app. Am I on the right track? And can you solve these types of problems for me? So we definitely see it a lot. And I think that these types of applications have a ton of value because they take a lot of the onus off of you to do really, really hardcore work, like spinning up your servers and, again, building that whole robust UI so that you really just are focusing on the specific data points and the workflow between the various components in the system. So we definitely do see that type of interaction happen organically all the time.
Yeah, and I think we
I'd
see
say the
it.
same thing with CRM too. It's not unique to creator, it's in the
That's what I was
CRM
going
you
to
get
say.
that
Yeah,
same
there are a lot
thing.
of applications where we've got to, they've
Yep.
done everything they can with the drag and drop abilities of the CRM, and they've got everything organized and it's great, but now they need that
And there's
extra
those
special
10
thing.
things they need calculated that just have to be done in code because they got to reference some database over here or, use all this logic to pick the rate. And, just you kind of get out of the scope of like what they want to do or what they're comfortable doing, in the system.
All right, co-coding is the new term. That's it. Co-coding. Perfect. And with that, let's check out what's new on Zenatta.com. An article over here. What social media marketing platforms should you consider using? And I will tell you, they are the ones that work for you. That is, that's what you should consider using. Where will your audience be? I think is the main thing you want to look at in this. You've got all the different platforms. Is your audience going to be on this platform, that platform, or whatever? Are they actually looking for you? For us, it's just so limited as to what platforms we would want to use because of the nature of our business and what we do. You know, really, Facebook doesn't really
Yeah.
do anything for us.
There's not much
Instagram
market
doesn't do
for us
anything.
on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not really where
You know,
people are going to look for us.
no, it's never going to happen. No TikTok. I don't see
As
us
much as
running
Freddie
ads
wants
there.
to start recording TikToks, I don't know how the return on ad spend would be on TikTok marketing for Zenatta.
All right. LinkedIn does work for us, and YouTube is clearly the thing that works for us. But you've kind of got to figure out. I think it's just streamline it. Pick the stuff where you're gonna get the traffic and where it's gonna drive that overall business. My wife owns a med spa, And you know what? Facebook and Instagram and people follow that. That works. People are actually in those looking for those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting, nice little read. And I think the bottom line of this is you really just you need to pick and choose what works for you and don't get overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to be on every platform. I mean, if you're not
Yep.
getting any engagement, there's probably a reason for it. People aren't going to look for you there. So,
Yep.
from there you can kind of move on. All right, Tyler, and with that, let's get to our pick of the week. There you go. This is a great application. It's called Canva. So if you go to our Zenatta.com and you look at basically all of our little feature images on our blogs and kind of things. Many of them are created in Canva. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do inside this product. You can have animations, you can build various things, you can set up banners for YouTube channel, for all your social media channels, presentations. It just goes on and on and on. They give you a ton of templates to choose from. Goes. It's just a simple way to build really eye-catching graphics that you can deploy across all of your assets, social media, your website, all that kind of stuff. Great application. I think we have many licenses, 5, 6 of this across the board. When you need something down and dirty quick, you just want to get it done. You don't want to go and build it out there. You don't do that. Canva's a great way to get it done.
Yeah, I think most people that probably would be using Canva probably have already heard about it, but this is kind of your general PSA, just that if you need a tool where you can mock up really any type of graphic for almost any use case, this is, and you can't go wrong using something like Canva.
Yep, it does a great job of that. All right, and then that gets us to our tip of the week. I apologize in advance; it was done by me. Anyway, this one is how to set up IMAP for your personal email using Zoho. It's 4 minutes. We had a question on this last week, and it takes you through it step by step, how to do it, what you should do, how to avoid the pitfall of registering your domain when you don't want to use your domain. This is basically you're hosting your mail somewhere not on Zoho, but you want to use the Zoho mail client as a mail client to pull in the mail from the other server and read it and respond to it from there. So this steps you through on how to set it up as an IMAP client, and hopefully you find that helpful. And as always, if you don't know this, you need to head over to Zenatta or youtube.com/Zenatta, and that's where we have all of our videos. And you can subscribe to our channel. You'll never miss a thing. We post all the time, a few times a week. It's really interesting, Tyler. Our Zoho One full product tutorials at 29,000 views. That was from the 2021 edition, right? But if we kind of go down to what we did this year, our 2022 edition after 2 months is already at 5,000 views. So
We're going to
it
be in a
looks like
race here before too long.
we see how long before it catches up. People do it. So the CRM one is at 2,000, and that is at 27,000 from a year ago. So that's lagging behind. It's kind of do we take down the old ones just to force people to find the new ones?
I don't know. I was thinking about that because you don't want to have any, if you watched our old Zoho One tutorial, you might miss that there are, 5 new products that came out in that year. I guess we could do a lot of redirects, right? Do those little, I forget what they're called, little cards that say go over here and check out this other one, maybe try to
Oh,
get
maybe
people.
that's what we should do. Hey, look at that. That's a great idea, right? Just insert a card in there that says, hey, this is our 2021, our 2022 is here, and push them over to there. Um, yeah, and also you don't really want to watch anything we did a year ago because we're just, look at that. It's just, look at the quality there. Oh man, the lighting,
Oh, how far
everything.
we've come.
Oh, oh, this is some embarrassing stuff. I just don't even know what to say. I don't want anybody watching this. Good Lord. All right. Anyway, that's our tip of the week. We hope you do find it useful. And with that, let's get to some Q&A, Tyler. All right. Our first question comes from Jim Canto. And This is a misinterpretation. So he watched our Zoho Click full product tutorial 2020, and Tyler, we haven't done one since then.
Wow, we probably need to
We
redo
didn't.
that one.
Yeah, that's like one that we need to like maybe insert a mid-month one on because the
Yeah.
changes that have happened there are just ridiculous. Anyway, he wanted to thank us for pointing out that external access to channels will require that the end user has a paid Click account once COVID had passed. I don't understand why Zoho would restrict their market penetration in such a way, but I'm glad I learned this. Um, no, you can actually set up an external channel, and a person with a free account can access that external channel. Jim, it's changed. You can do that. So that that's not a problem. You can have your free Click account and join that channel, and you know you're good to go there. So little sorry. That's why maybe old tutorials where things have changed, we need to jump in and do it. So,
Yep.
all right. And next question. Sanal Gohill asks, can Zoho CRM push a sales order to Zoho Books?
Yeah, absolutely. Depends on how you want to do it, right? You could do it with a workflow. Once a status becomes this, trigger a function. You do it with a custom button. The key thing is that you are going to need to use some deluge in order to get that done. Kind of a multi-step process. You have to take your customer account and find the books version, take each of your items and find the books version, and then kind of reconstruct the payload that would create a sales order. But yeah, it's no problem at all to get that done. You will just need to use a little bit of custom script.
All right. And then our next question comes from Ryan Owens. How do I get customers that have signed up for Zoho in subscriptions to load into the CRM? I'm really struggling getting the questions answered with Zoho and have been digging into the YouTube channel and not finding it. Normally, if you just do the connection between subscription and
Yeah,
CRM, and that
should be
is,
like
I don't even
settings
think,
and then should be settings, integrations, and then Zoho apps. It should pretty much just be turn it on, map any of the fields that you need, and then get them flowing over. But yeah, you shouldn't have to do anything too crazy here. It would be under your default kind of like integration settings inside of Zoho subscriptions.
yeah, it's not a marketplace app. It's just there and you turn it on. Now, the problem you'll have there, Ryan, because we usually get the opposite question of this, which is, how do I get customers that signed up in Zoho subscriptions not to become duplicates in the CRM?
Yeah.
Because that becomes the real issue here. Because if you have that person in the CRM already, and then they just go to Zoho subscriptions and they fill out that form there, they're going to create in the CRM as a completely different person, and you're going to have to go in and then merge all those together. And the subscription will still attach to that user. So it's really just a straight up integration there. Like Tyler said, just
Yeah,
go
it
into
should be under
subscription.
your settings.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do that integration, you should be good to go. All right. With that, we've got one question in the chat room. I don't think we have the answer for this, Chris. Is it possible to use multiple numbers for text reminders through Zoho bookings? They did turn on the ability to use multiple services in CRM and some of the other apps with the telephony integration. Zoho
Mhm.
bookings, though, it's kind of its own animal,
Yeah,
Chris.
there's two different ways I can read this question. One of them is, can someone who's booking with you give you two numbers and get reminders to both? That one, no, unfortunately they can't. And then the other question would be, can I have bookings for this type of service come from this number and bookings for this other service come from another? And I think the answer is also no. I think all of that's
Yeah,
just built into the back end of Zoho bookings. I'd be
that's
happy
kind of
to be
how I
wrong,
read
but I
it.
don't think you can really define what number the reminders are going to come from within bookings.
And on bookings, I'll say this. So bookings reached out to us a couple of weeks ago, and they were upset that we had them in the not quite ready category on our website. And they said everything's working. And we actually did a whole bunch of tests around. And why do you say everything's working? Synchronization. Won't go. So, um, and yeah, it's real time. It actually looks at the calendar. It doesn't. We did a whole bunch of testing on it. So still, like a lot of things existed with bookings, still tend to exist there well. So there's that. All right, we got one more question in the chat room. How can I send 4 different estimates in one email to customers using Zoho? Deluge, Tyler?
Are you thinking like books estimates? Like, I guess either way, CRM or books estimates. It's going to be tricky. I mean, they don't really roll up into one email. I mean, you could surely like grab the PDFs from multiple of them and attach them all to an email. We've done some kind of custom code around grabbing any open invoices associated with a customer in books, rolling them up into like a custom PDF with payment links and sending that out. But that would seem like a whole lot of custom code to get this done. Yeah, I don't think there's nothing native that would allow you to say like, I'm making these 4 estimates, select 4, send as email with all 4 of them there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm sure you could, what does Lucas call it? Force of will.
Yeah, through pure force of will, you could code in some type of magic button where you make 4 estimates, they're all in the draft status, and then the magic button that you click on the account or the contact, and it gets all them and makes some PDF and sends it out. But it might just be a lot of custom code to solve kind of a real specific problem.
Yep, for sure. All right, and as I slowly blur out here on my end, I don't know if I'm on your end or not, that's a good point for us to end the show. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us. And as always, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer on the show, head over to club.zenatta.com and do it there. And also you can check us out at zenatta.com.
On the website, you'll find complete episodes with links to all the stories we discussed today. As always, we'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.